Rugby has a habit of distilling complex campaigns into single, damning moments. A missed tackle, a loose pass, a yellow card born of panic. We often label them coach killers, those flashpoints that undo weeks of preparation and months of messaging in the blink of an eye. But some weekends offer more than a single snapshot. They reveal patterns, fault lines, structural weaknesses. And over the past round of international rugby, three themes emerged with uncomfortable clarity. England's spiraling error count, the skewed competitive landscape of the incoming Nations Championship, and the creeping overreach, or at least underprepared execution, a professional match oversight in the Tier 2 game that let's begin at Twickenham that England's error count. When coach killers. Multiply if you wanted one isolated coach killer from the weekend, you could have picked Cardiff. A clever moment from Finn Russell, relentless kick chase from Darcy Graham, and a lapse in awareness from defenders who appeared half awake as space opened up. One flash, one swing, one pivotal moment. But one moment is survivable. What unfolded at Twickenham was not at England's 42-21 defeat to Ireland at Twickenham Stadium was not defined by a single catastrophic error. It was defined by accumulation, by a relentless drip feed of misjudgments, technical flaws, mental lapses, and tactical incoherence that collectively felt fatal. What kind of coach killer would you like? An attacking penalty punted beyond a corner flag and into in-goal. A supposed strike runner and game-breaker chased down over 50 meters by a veteran center, looking as though preseason conditioning had only just begun. A needless yellow card for diving in on a scrum half? Or perhaps another. Yellow just 90 seconds into the second half, despite a halftime conversation about discipline surely still echoing in players' ears. That was merely the shop window. Beneath it lay an extraordinary error count. Unforced handling mistakes, telegraph passes delivered with all the subtlety of semaphore, kick chases devoid of hunger, and penalties conceded in moments that demanded calm. The most astonishing statistic of all, across the opening quarters of their past two matches, England have been outscored 39-0. That is not variance. That is not bad luck. That is systemic failure to start games with clarity and intensity. Against Scotland, there was at least mitigation. The Scots produced a performance of genuine quality. But this time the issues were self-inflicted. Ireland did not need miracles. England offered opportunity after opportunity, that from November promise to February confusion. It was not long ago that optimism flickered around Steve Borthwick's project. November victories over elite opposition had stabilized his standing within the RFU. The narrative suggested evolution, a more mature blend of control and creativity, discipline underpinning ambition. Even a 48-point win over Wales earlier in the championship, while hardly revolutionary in style, was accepted as evidence of progress. But something has unraveled in the past fortnight. The system now looks neither controlled nor creative. It looks uncertain, prepubescent almost. Players appear unsure not only of what to execute, but how to adapt when circumstances shift mid-game. The early substitutions of Luke Cowan-Dickey and Freddie Stewart before halftime sent a troubling signal. Such moves can be tactical necessities, but they also risk broadcasting panic. They risk suggesting that coaches are scrambling rather than steering. And yet, it could have been half a dozen players withdrawn. The malaise was collective. Curiously, it was the recalled Ollie Lawrence who stood out. Perhaps distance from the environment preserved clarity. He looked sharp, decisive, engaged, almost untouched by the fog that seemed to envelop others. Disharmony between moving parts is the most damning indictment. Rugby systems rely on cohesion. When forwards hesitate at breakdowns, when backs drift laterally without purpose, when defensive lines lack trust, the entire structure shudders. Coach killer becomes less a punchline and more a diagnosis. With Italy next in Rome, that opening quarter suddenly feels existential. Not merely for the Six Nations table, but for Borthwick's authority at the Nations Championship. A skewed landscape if Twickenham exposed fragility. Developments around the Nations Championship revealed something else entirely: structural imbalance. This column has long opposed the concept. It risks becoming a shadow World Cup, devaluing the quadrennial pinnacle while entrenching a two-tier hierarchy. Emerging nations such as Portugal, Spain, Georgia, Samoa, Tonga, Chile, and Uruguay have made remarkable strides on limited resources. Yet competitions that consolidate wealth and exposure among established powers slam heavy doors in their faces. The latest development concerning Fiji's July fixtures compounds the concern. Fiji national rugby union team will play all scheduled home games in the United Kingdom. The reasons are transparent: financial guarantees, broadcast revenue, commercial certainty. There are hundreds of thousands of reasons, all adorned with a monarch's profile, but none relate to competitive equity. Home advantage is not solely about crowd size. It is about climate, travel fatigue, cultural comfort, emotional lift. A raucous evening in Suva carries intangible force. Instead, Fiji's opponents will enjoy geographic familiarity, while Fiji forfeit one of the few levers available to narrow resource gaps. Ironically, the most tangible competitive twist may be unintended. A weakened England side facing Fiji, while England's frontline squad tours Argentina and South Africa. Still, the optics are troubling that a tournament where stronger nations rotate squads and weaker nations surrender home advantage feels less like growth and more like entrenchment. Meanwhile, Georgia national rugby union team will likely host full-strength opponents in Tbilisi, fixtures that, competitively speaking, may offer far greater intrigue. Money speaks loudly. But so does authenticity to Swiss timing. Professionalism without polish if the global landscape exposes macro-level imbalance. Events in Switzerland highlight micro-level execution flaws. Switzerland national rugby union team defeated Netherlands national rugby union team 29-23 in a dramatic upset. It should have been celebrated as a landmark result. Instead, it became a case study in the awkward adolescence of Tier 2 professionalism. Multiple decisive moments were referred to the television match official. In principle, that is progress, alignment with elite officiating standards in practice, it bordered on farce. After headset consultations, the referee and assistants were forced to jog down a tunnel and wait while footage was manually cued. Minutes ticked by. Players cooled. Spectators stiffened in winter air. Momentum evaporated. Then the referee would return to the field, painstakingly explaining conclusions that had long since drained drama from the contest. The match lasted 2 hours and 5 minutes. Not all of that delay stemmed from TMO interventions. There's also a lengthy concussion stoppage, but enough did to dull what should have been a breathless finale. Professional tools require professional infrastructure. Without it, they risk alienating rather than enhancing. That Tier 2 rugby deserves accuracy and fairness. But it also deserves spectacle. Balance is delicate. A game at crossroads across these disparate threads runs a common theme. Execution matters. For England, execution within a system that appears increasingly brittle. For tournament organizers, execution of formats that claim inclusivity while consolidating advantage. For developing unions, execution of officiating standards that must match ambition. Rugby prides itself on nuance, on space, timing, subtlety. But sometimes the story is blunt that England's error count is not nuance. It is alarmed. Fiji's displaced home fixtures are not nuance. They are compromise. Swiss TMO delays are not nuance. They are growing pains. None of these issues are terminal. All are solvable, but only if acknowledged without defensiveness. For Steve Borthwick, Rome looms as both opportunity and reckoning. For global administrators, the nation's championship demands introspection beyond balance sheets. For emerging competitions, professionalism must be matched by preparedness. Rugby thrives on contest, not only between teams, but between ideals and realities. This week, reality has landed several heavy blows.